Have you ever wondered, what if someone really could travel back from the future, carrying memories of what's to come, and stood right in front of us? What would that even look like? Today, we're diving into the story of a particularly famous Chinese time traveller, KFK, who claims to be from the year 2060. Before we dive into the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss what's coming next. It all started on June 22nd, 2019. That day, a user named KFK suddenly showed up on China's Douban forum, kind of like Reddit. He posted a thread claiming he was from the year 2060 and had just arrived in 2019 that very day. He even joked that he was kind of a backpacking traveller through time. He told everyone, "If you've got questions, ask away." KFK said he came from Shanghai in the year 2060. He claimed 2019 was no ordinary year. It was 1 year before he was born, and more importantly, a turning point in human history. That's why he came back, to give people of this era a warning. Like the Japanese time traveller Rei Kokubun from the year 2058, KFK shared his story by answering questions from curious users online. And if you haven't heard the story of Rei Kokubun, check out our other video in the top right corner. It's a wild one. But compared to other time travellers, KFK's biggest difference is how he travels through time. He said he doesn't have a physical body. Once he starts time travelling, even gender doesn't exist. He's just a piece of information, a memory. When someone asked if he exists as data, he firmly said, yes, exactly. His time travel happens on the level of consciousness. Other so-called time travellers always get stuck on the question of time machines. But KFK avoids that problem. He says he relies on consciousness alone. He also said time travel is actually a privilege. Normally, he wouldn't have this right. He just found a loophole, which made him a backpacking traveller through time. There's a rule too. You can only go back to a time before you're born. Visiting any year when you already exist is absolutely forbidden, so he can only come back to 2019 and must leave before his birth. Another rule is he can't change anyone's fate, so he'll never answer questions like lottery numbers. After all that, what you probably want to know most is how many of his predictions for the future have come true by 2025. Some users asked him why 2019 was such a special year in his eyes. It didn't seem like much was happening. Was there something coming in the second half of the year? Or was it some personal reason? KFK said the second half of 2019 was a major turning point in human history. Looking back now, we all know that's when the COVID-19 pandemic broke out. And it truly changed all our lives. That's definitely a chilling thought. Others asked if the Chinese women's volleyball team would win gold at the Tokyo Olympics. He said no, and even predicted something would go wrong at the Tokyo Games. Looking back, the Tokyo Olympics were postponed to 2021 because of the pandemic. China's women's volleyball team, the defending champions, were the favourites. But surprisingly, they didn't even make the quarterfinals. So yes, no gold for them. People were curious about the US too. Would Trump get re-elected? KFK said Trump would indeed be re-elected, but would face huge pressure from family and opponents. While Trump didn't serve 2 consecutive terms, he did become president twice. Plus, John Bolton and Trump's niece Mary both published books harshly criticising him. Exactly the huge pressure KFK talked about. Someone asked who would be Taiwan's next leader. He said it would be the same person as the previous term. In 2020, Tsai Ing-wen was indeed re-elected, spot on. There was a question about when China's housing prices would start to fall. KFK said he wasn't exactly sure, but thought it would be in the early 2020s. In reality, from 2022 onwards, housing prices in both mainland China and Taiwan began to drop, so that prediction fits. He also said that by 2060, houses would be super cheap, because the population would be very low and construction technology super advanced. Mostly using 3D printing, only the rich would build wooden houses. People were curious about future booming industries. KFK said that after 2030, artificial intelligence combined with cross-industry work would dominate, especially fields skilled in AI development and urban design. Also, the gaming industry would enter a new stage from 2035. Remember, he said this back in 2019, before ChatGPT even existed, and now AI is truly part of our lives. But this kind of prediction is more of a trend forecast. People who study the global economy might have guessed this too. Talking about diseases, he said cancer would be cured, but a new threat would emerge: superbugs. These are bacteria extremely resistant to antibiotics, impossible to kill with any drug. Once infected, basically no cure. This superbug outbreak would be a serious disaster, causing massive population decline. About war, he said the world would still be relatively peaceful before 2030. No wars, and people would have about 10 years of stability. But from 2030 to 2047, many disasters and wars would break out around the world, though mostly small and localised. Then in 2048, the Third World War would erupt, centred around the border area where 3 continents meet. Think about it. The only place where 3 of the 7 continents meet is around Turkey, Iran, Iraq and Syria, the junction of Asia, Europe and Africa. Many users freaked out and asked what they should prepare for in advance. He said it's best to settle somewhere inland and spacious because coastal areas would be dangerous. Whether from war, earthquakes, tsunamis or tectonic movements, these would happen frequently. Some coastal cities might even disappear. He also mentioned Japan would suffer a massive earthquake and its capital would move to Okayama. Someone asked about Bitcoin's value in his time. He said Bitcoin no longer exists. He also said Apple had already declined by the time he was a kid. And the 3 giants of the 2040s to 2050s would be companies making 3D printed houses, interactive gaming and optical virtual reality glasses. As for average life expectancy, he said that in his time, Australia would have the highest average lifespan. But globally, average life expectancy would be much lower than now, mainly because of wars and disasters. He predicted the world population would reach 8 billion by 2047, then drop to 5.3 billion by 2060. The main cause? Most likely that world war in 2048 he mentioned. Someone also asked if he could give humanity a piece of advice, since he's here with a kind warning. He said that if, starting from 2019, people could shift their focus from material things to spirituality, life after 2048 wouldn't be so painful. In other words, after 2048, people would realise the world exists mostly on a spiritual level. If we understood sooner that our world is actually a manifestation of spirit or consciousness, facing future changes wouldn't be so shocking. According to him, between 2030 and 2050, human society would fall into chaos, plus all kinds of natural disasters. The whole world would be in turmoil. After 2050, humanity would enter a phase dominated by the spiritual world. That's the timeline he laid out. Of course, KFK's predictions aren't all accurate. By 2025, we can already spot some clear misses. For example, he confidently said the 2032 Olympics would be held in Jakarta, but actually it was confirmed in 2021 that Brisbane, Australia would be the host. This mistake is pretty obvious, and it made a lot of people doubt even more whether he really is a time traveller. But no matter what, these future predictions are definitely fascinating. As for whether they're true or not, only time will tell. So, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.